clubpod.co, clubpod.co, clubpod.co.
Okay!
Hi folks, this is another of these clubpod.co podcast things about podcasting. Today's going to be a simple one. It's the last one I did, if you've listened, was just about hosting your podcast, and I was saying record everything in Wave and then you can save it as a MP3 file. So now you want to, if you haven't got your recording gear, this is some little tips. Now, the first thing to do is, whatever device you're recording on, you've got to make sure you don't peak. That's what that means is, when you play back the files, you'll see a sort of a ziggy-zaggy line, and a bit like mountains or heartbeat. You know, when you're having a heart, when you see people on them heart machines, and the peaking is when the sound goes, it's too loud and it makes horrible noise. So what you want to do is adjust it. Put your mic where you're going to be recording and do a bit of testing and say things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why when you people do that in films or whatnot, they're just testing the sound level. And what you want to do is that some machines will have a little red thing at the end, or it might indicate peaking, and you want to make sure whenever you're speaking it's not going to hit that. Don't worry too much if you have the sound a bit low, because in the software you can boost it up, so that's usually not a problem. It's really the reverse. I mean, some of the I did listen, there's a new, sorry, the dog's chewing something in the background. I did see a new recording device, and it's records such high, the files are cute. I think it goes 64-bit or something in Wave. I forget what it is, but it's apparently the files are so much data that even when it peaks you can edit it out. However, for most devices, I mean that might be standard in soon and everything, but at the moment you can sort of play about in post in the software, but it's really not worth. You know, you basically, the sound sucks. Now the odd bit, if you say there's a loud bang and no one's speaking, that ain't too much a problem, because in your software you can easily just edit that out. But anyway, you just want to get it below, I think the pros say 20% below or something. On my little pocket machine it's a bit awkward, because it's fortunately has the dial on the front, but it doesn't really say when it's peaking. You've just got to sort of guess. It shows the volume, but it doesn't have like the peak mark from what I've seen. On my other device, it goes peak. It has a sort of line where it's peaking, so you can just adjust it. It's much easier on that. Now, one of the things when you're using this pocket thing that I've got, it's a bit more awkward than, say, if you have if you have your microphone on a stand or set up on your table, and the recording device, whatever you're using, separate, at least when you play back whatever you're doing, you know that next time you come, if you leave everything set up, you're going to have the same sound. So you can, if you see what I mean, it's the same setup. But when you've got it like me, when it's a pocket one, if I take the card out, I've moved the mic because it's all built in, and so getting it back in the position it was is not always easy to remember. It's guesswork, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's the first thing. You want to avoid the peaking by keeping the sound, I think they claim 20% below. Don't worry if you go way low. You can boost it in your software quite easily. I wouldn't recommend having it go below halfway, just in case. But again, record everything in Wave. It makes life easier, and then you can edit. Now, the second bit is I'd advise is, if you're going out or say outside, you want to. Oh, in fact, to be honest, if you've got a mic, get a pop filter It's like a black circle, and it just clips on. They're only a few pounds. I think I paid £7 for my mic. But on my little pocket one, what I do is I have a wind protect. It's like a bit of foam. It just goes over the top, and that acts as a bit of a pop thing. I'm not sure if it's as good as, but it's close to it. And the other way, what a pop filter does is it stops you breathing into the mic and making silly noises you might not notice. I mean, the way around this as well is put the mic to your side, so the air from your mouth isn't hitting it. That if you're finding this silly sounds like the, I don't know if that picks up, but if you're getting things like that on it, move the mic. Now, the other thing you can do is, if there's a few people in a room and you've only got one mic, if you try and position everyone round the table roughly the same, you can record everyone quite fine. It doesn't sound too bad. If you're braver, you can buy a recording device and you can plug in more than one mic. The trouble with that is the external ones are quite big, and the cost isn't too bad. I paid 120. Mine's only I can only plug 2 pro mics in. That's the like big chunky cables, and I think I can plug a little normal mic in, cheap one. The ones that you can plug into your phone and things. But if you want more, so that's fine if you're planning on say recording 2 people in the same room with different mics. Obviously, you could use the same mic and have people sit close to each other. It's no big deal. I mean, it doesn't make if you have positioned people correctly, you can get away with it. You can experiment. But say you've got a room and you want everyone mic'd up, and there's 4 people, you're gonna have to buy one with 4 sockets. Forget what they are. There's a special name, but and then you can get ones with even more than that in, and you can go quite high. There's podcasting. I forget what is it, Podcaster Row or something. Now, I'll talk about that later. If you would, that's got a lot of plugs. It's not cheap. It's about £600-700. Although, to be honest, you probably find it's value for money, because if you're going to do this podcasting for a while, that machine I'll talk about, it is pretty decent. You can do all sorts with it. One of the great advantages of that one is you can plug a phone in, because I have heard people do. The worst one I heard was somebody just held a phone to the mic and it sounded awful when they did an interview. Dreadful. And the other ways around it is through your computer, with such as Skype and all this, but it doesn't really sound that great. So that way you get a much better voice. I mean, obviously as software improves, you'll be doing it software to software via the old internet. So it'd be set. I mean, it won't be long before you can set it up so you can have somebody one side of the world and another, and they'll sound like they're in the same room, rather than doing it through a phone. I mean, you probably can do that now if you play about. In fact, I think you could. I can't see why you couldn't do it like that. In fact, a lot of radio stations, because this oh sorry, the cat's moving there, seem to be doing some system like that, and it sounds like they're in a studio. So you don't even need this radio studio anymore. You can do it from home. Now, practice and rehearse. Don't go straight into doing the podcast. If I was you, do a few sound tests, listen to it back, make sure it's correct, because you can always adjust things. It's better to get things correct a long time before. I mean, if everything's going to be set up, you can then set it up and leave it. So when you come to doing the podcast, especially if you're inviting someone out, if it's just you, it doesn't matter. It's like me. I'm just doing this. If it goes wrong, it doesn't matter, because I can redo it. But actually, this is the second version, because in the real world environment, I was doing it. I plugged my mic in, but I hadn't plugged it in the socket far enough, so I hadn't actually recorded anything. So And things like that do happen. Mistake. Well, it happens to me. It probably will happen to you. Now, the second thing to do is, my advice is always press record before you start the podcast. And even if it's half an hour before, whenever I've recorded people, I just leave it recording. Then I know it's fully set up. And as long as I know the batteries are in, and always have, if you've got a battery one, I always have spare batteries. And if you've got a cable one, a lot of them have USB as power. Buy a few decent wires off eBay, off Amazon or wherever, because they do break, and sometimes the ones that they come with the machines can be cheap and nasty and break very easily. I've had the ones that come with stuff just last a day. So I tend to buy a few in bulk because they're not that expensive if you buy them that way. And that way, if they break, it doesn't matter. You just sling them. And the other reason you want to record a while before is because if you have a background noise, say you didn't realise the computer was on and making a whirly noise, or there's some sort of noise, you can actually, in the software, I'll talk about this later, but you can delete that. Now it might affect the voice a bit. I've done it and it sounds crystal clear. I've taken out some really old footage. I took some footage from an old VHS tape and I cleared it up quite nicely. It wasn't as perfect as recording on digital or whatever, but I was surprised how clear I could get it, just tweaking stuff in the software. Now, and by the way, one of the things about doing podcasts, for me, the exciting thing is actually the editing, all the fancy stuff. That for me is more, in some ways, more exciting than doing the podcasts. And in fact, I have heard people say they're not interested in that side of things. And I think they're missing out, because that's if you get into that, it blows your mind. And plus, if you understand it, you can understand. You can have ideas. You can get quite creative, and you're missing out. So if you're thinking, it's just a case of turn up, speak, and leave, you're missing out on the huge amount of creativity, because you might want a layered up sound, background noise, all sorts. The amount possible. If you ever listen to, even going back to the 1940s recordings on the radio, it'll blow you away the amount of technology they were doing there, the sound effects, everything. So it's why it's worth learning. So I think that's it for. But if you're going outside, you need, like I say, you can get a bit of foam to go over your mic, but if it's really windy, I think they call it a dead cat. It's one of them furry things. If you put that over, it stops the whooshing noise of the wind. But yeah, and always prepare. Things do well. For me, things go wrong, so always have backup plans. And one of the things about this little pocket recorder is I'd always suggest getting one, because you might have the most state-of-the-art gear, but if something goes wrong, you could be left stuffed if you can't record. At least if you got something to record on, it's better. You're not going to miss out, even if it's not perfect. It's better than nothing, especially if you're not going to record it again. Now I should do it like I was listening to on the old this new app. I don't know if you've got access to it. You need an iPhone and an invite, but it's this Clubhouse. Now there's one, and I think I've mentioned this before, that covers podcasts, but the group, the woman who does it, all she does is she's been put as a moderator, and she gets her friends on her with moderators, and all they're doing is flogging the business. People ask questions, and guess what the answer is? Oh, my business will do that. I'll do it. Oh yeah. She's she's a big American voice, yeehaw type. Well, not yeehaw, but she's it's I've worked with all the big American TV companies and film stars and everything, and I've interviewed them all. And my company will do this, that, and the other. Yeah. So if anyone has any problems, my firm will do it. So it's not really that particularly great. This is the trouble with Clubhouse. some of them, some of the bigger things are just there, just flogging things, and people go along thinking that they're helping, and they go, "Oh, you," so, and everyone brown noses each other. So if I was doing it this way, I'd be going, instead of me helping you, I'd be going, "Oh, forget it, forget doing any of this for yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My firm will do it all for you. You want us to blow your nose? Don't worry, don't bother doing that. My firm will do it for you. Oh, I'll get you to the top position. Doesn't matter if your show sucks. I'm not going to tell you it sucks. I'm just going to tell you, yeah, we can. Money, 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 money. It's just a bit, yeah. But, if you want to go along with that, it's up to you. But a lot of people have seen through it. I mean, like I said, if you see things that say Club Pod, it's it's not me. But and I don't associate with them. I don't want to. There's I'm getting the impression, and people are saying this, a lot of these people aren't. That they're just after making a quick buck. They're not really interested in helping people, and they're getting the power from it because they've got thousands of followers, and they're feeling dead important and going around saying, "I'm a CEO of this, I'm a CEO of that, I'm the founder. Oh, look at me, I'm so important, big, 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 big." And you look at the websites, and they're terrible. And you look at this, and often, some of them get quite a few followers on Instagram, but some of them have got nothing. To say that they claim to be this big, I know everything, I'm brilliant, I'm great, I've got the contacts. Oh yeah, the other day someone was listening and they got a free car, blah, 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 blah. It gets a bit much. And especially because I've been listening to these just for tips, but I listened for about a couple of hours the other day, and I don't think there was any tips on podcasting. People just, all the replies were, "Yeah, my big firm will do this, that, and the other. I've got staff to do this." And I don't think it particularly helps. I mean, I don't think there was. I'll be honest. I mean, she said she did podcasting, but I'm not sure she's even touched the editing software or had a clue how to use the mics, anything. I honestly did. It didn't feel like that. I mean, I do this. I tell you the pitfalls and the messing up and whatnot because I've done it. And I'm doing it free. I don't want money. You don't pay me. I mean, it's we could be going in one of the biggest recessions going. I don't want you to spend your money giving it to me. Just keep it yourself. Spend it on your own podcasting and the equipment. You can do it yourself. You don't need. This is what the point of these things are. I do it on the website. I write it in text, so you don't have to listen to this rubbish from me. If you make it, I can't understand what I'm saying often, so I can't expect anyone else to. I'm not doing it in this perky, yeehaw, yeah, we're in safe space zone, yeah, garblers. I'm not interested in that. Oh, sorry, got an angry cat now. It's my mate's cat. So I do it my way. If it annoys people, so what? I don't care. Sorry. Oh, very angry. I don't know if you can hear that on the mic. Got a bit of an angry cat there because she won't let it go past because it'll knock the mic on the floor. Once I've turned the mic off, I'll let her go. She's getting a bit annoyed. Keeps running back anyway. So I think that covers this one. I'll talk about editing the next one and a few other things and whatnot. But if you are on, the advice someone said, and I heard it today, is don't go on the big clubhouse for clubs or forums or whatever they are. Go on the little ones because the big ones, they say, are just there. I think people are saying it over and over. They're just there for businesses, for people that just flog the business, and they've got a captive audience. Sorry, I break up in there. It's not my sort of thing. I might do some of the shows myself on my own, and it won't be any connection to anything else. I'm not going to be asking for anyone to. The only thing I'll say is look at if I can give the information free, I'll stick it on the site free. But yeah, it's a bit of a situation sometimes. But yeah, don't be fooled by this chirpy American thing because I can't understand why people can't see through it. It's clearly obvious. They're just trying to flog the company. Literally, it was ridiculous. I think I was listening for, I think it was 2 hours. Every question was replying back, yeah, my business can do that. My business can do that for you. You don't need to do it yourself. Terrible. It was just, and everyone just brown noses. And instead of saying, I mean, at no stage did this one even say, look, you might not be that good. Oh yeah, you know, blah blah blah. You know, it's promising people. It's unfair because if somebody sucked, and she's there saying, yeah, my business can do X, Y, and Z for you, it means they're throwing the money away. But she's not. I mean, that's why. My feeling is these people don't care about the customers because, you know, if they did, they'd say, look, come on, it's not fair for me for our company to promise you stuff when, even if we do it, it's not going to result in a great deal because your show sucks. That's the decent thing. But, you know, I get the impression they'll just take your money and they'll just go through they'll just do X, Y, and Z regardless. So even if your show's great or your show sucks, they'll just treat the same, which isn't really fair. So it's better to say, look, yeah, I'd rather not take your money and be honest with you. Anyway, well, we'll see. Hopefully this is some use to you. Alright then, ciao.
PodCast.